Hello, so for today I'm going to be showing you all how to make a very basic 2D platformer. So to get started, just click New Project. Then click the 2D core and the different templates. Now just give it a name, and once you do, just click Create Project and let it load. So now that we are in Unity, this is the default view that you will see once you start it up for the first time. And to get started, we're going to include the assets I have included in the description below. Once they're included, we have our basic tile map, which has all our beautiful world assets, and we also have our character sprite sheets. So we are going to prepare those to be able to use in the actual world. So to do that, what you want to do is make sure that the texture type is set to sprite, 2D and UI, and as well the sprite mode is set to multiple. After that, you click Sprite Editor, and of course click Apply, and this lovely screen would pop up. Next, you'll click the top, Slice, and then Grid by Cell Count. And then in the column you put 20, in the row you put 9, and it slices up beautifully like this. It does change throughout what kind of sprite sheet you would use, but for this one it is 20 by 9 for this very specific one. Then click Apply, and it slices it all up. You'll be able to see that it did that by, if you click this arrow right here, it has all the little sprites there, and if you check our characters one that we haven't done yet, you can see the difference. Now let's do the exact same thing with our characters. And for this one, it is 9 by 3. Excellent. And then click Apply. Now the next thing you can do to just make sure everything is good, change the pixels per unit to 18 for the textures, for the tiles. And then for the characters, change it to, I believe it is 24. Next, just also you can put the filter mode onto point. It just makes things look a little bit better, but it is totally optional. And now once that is done, let us make let's put our tile map. And to do that, you go into 2D, tile map, then rectangular, and this shows up. But how do we put our tiles in, you might ask? Well, to do that, you go into Window, 2D, and then Tile Palette. Now this lovely screen would come up. You click Tile Palette, well, create new palette, and just name whatever palette you want to name it to. I'll just name it to World Tile Map. Click Create, and then just find where you want to put it. I'm just going to make a new folder called Tile Maps. And then put it all in there. And then finally, you just drag in the textures right into it. Select the tile maps, select the folder, and let it slice. Once it's been sliced and put all in here, you'll see it all looks beautifully right here. And if we click, we can place it on the screen. And you can also click and drag and just put it like that. Let's make a little nice scene real quick. We don't really need to make anything too fancy, but once it's made like this, save our project, and voila, we put a little level. You can customize it to however you want, make it look as good or as bad as you want it, but hopefully yours looks good. Alright, so next we're going to be making our player. Now to do that, it is very simple. To start off, you gotta add a square sprite onto the screen, and let's name it player. Then in here, we will just put it on the main platform, and then we put the sprite as one of our character sprites. We are going to use our little blue boy right here. And yeah, we'll just keep it like that. And then we're gonna add our rigid body 2D. Of course, adding our constraints on the Z axis for rotation. And we're going to add a square or box collider 2D. Now we do have collision on this, but when we do click play, the character just kind of falls right through it. So to fix that, we go into our tile map and then add a tile map collider. Now this isn't always the solution to go with. There's always some better options. Like, it doesn't really matter, but this is what we're going to be doing for now today. And next off, let's just shorten everything there for now. We are going to add our main script, which is we are going to name it player controller. Click new script, create and add. We are just going to quickly add some folders here to make things a bit more organized. First one is going to be C# scripts. Just add that into the file. Next, we are going to add another folder for our images. And we're just going to put both of those in there along with our tile maps, just to make everything look a bit nicer. All right, and let's go into our scripts. So to start it off, we are going to add a few basic variables for our movement. We're going to add a rigid body 2D, rigid body, and then public float speed. And then in our start function, we are going to add a rigid body equals get component rigid body 2D. This is so we are able to get the actual rigid body that would be attached to the player. Next, we're going to make a variable or a function named move. Now we have not made this yet, so that's why we have a bit of an error, but we're going to make it right now. Now, you might get this problem where it says on animator move. You just delete on animator, and voila. Just remove private, as it doesn't really need to be private. So to get us started, we go float x equals input dot get axis raw horizontal. Then float move by equals x times speed, which speed already autocorrected went there. Excellent. And finally, rigid body dot velocity equals new vector 2 move by, and rigid body dot velocity dot y. And voila. So if we save that and go into our script, if we we have it there. If we maybe give it 5 for speed, we can now move our little guy around. And of course you see there's collisions right there. I don't know why it just got stuck there. Huh. Interesting. Well, let's make a jump just in case we get stuck. So to make our jump function, we will go back in our code and then we're gonna add two functions here, one for jump and then one for checking if we're grounded. So let's start with our jump function. Gotta make sure our spelling is correct. So we start off with going if, well, actually we do start off with making more variables because the ones we have won't be enough. So we go public float jump force for 1, then public int default additional jumps. This makes it so however many we put, we can jump an additional time. And then int additional jumps. Finally, for the grounded stuff, we add a bool is grounded. Set that to false at the start just in case. Then public transform is grounded checker. This is going to be a game object in the world that's going to constantly check to see where our feet are. Then public float check ground radius. Fine, and then public layer mask. Oh, no capitals. Ground layer. If I can type today. Public float remember grounded 4, and then float, and then finally float last time grounded. Now let's move on to our void jump. Oh, and we can just collapse that. We don't need it. Well, we do for the player, but we don't need to make any more changes into it. So for our jump, we go if input dot get key down, and then key code dot space, and we also add an and variable, or just checker is grounded, or time that time minus last time grounded less than or equal to remember grounded 4, or additional jumps is less than to 0. Then in this we put rigid body dot velocity equals new vector 2 rigid body dot velocity dot x and jump force. And finally additional jumps minus minus, so a minus is 1 each time you jump. Now lastly, let's go void check if grounded, and this one would be a bit more simpler one. You do collider 2D colliders equals physics 2D dot over, if I can type and not mess click, overlap circle is grounded checker dot position, and as well as check ground radius, and finally ground layer. Alright, we don't need to add that yet, but we do need to finish off that. Then finally, if colliders does not equal null, is grounded equals to true, and additional jumps equals default additional jumps, well, addition jumps, then else. Yeah, sometimes my computer loves to just hold for a second. If is grounded, then last time grounded equals time dot time, and finally setting is grounded equals to false. And that's pretty much how you do a very basic movement system. Now if we go back into Unity, as you see, we don't have anything for a ground checker, so you go into the player, create an empty Just name it ground checker. And then set the Y to -0.5. So it goes to the feet. And then just drag it in. Now we just add a bit more variables for this. For the jump force, we'll say 5. Actually, let's be fun with 10. Additional jumps, just leave it at 1. And the ground radius to 0.05. Yeah, like that. And now we have to set the ground layer. So to do that, we click on the tile map, on layer, add ground, then go back onto the tile map, and then add our ground layer. And finally, once that's done, just set the ground layer. And then if we hit play, we can still move around, and we can also jump. And jump another time, because we have one additional jump set. So if we fall, we can just do some mad jumps. Now, finally, we have one final thing to do, adding a little bit of animation to our little guy. So if we click on him, then click Control 6, the animation tab will pop out. And if we drag it onto here, so we can mess around with it, we just click Create. And then let's just add it onto Images, and we'll add a new folder called Animations. And then we'll just name this Idle, because we don't have really any other animations. We click Add Property, Sprite Renderer, add the sprite. As you see our little guy right there, we're just going to move this one over to 10 seconds. And then move that to 5, well, it's just 0.5. No, it's 5 seconds. And then click that. And then in the sprite renderer back up here, you change it to the other sprite. If there's more than one animation, you might need to extend the time a little bit. But since it's just the one, do that. Click that button so it stops recording. And then if we click play, he does a little dance. But the animation might be going a little quick. So now go into the animator that was just made in our player function from what we just did. We double click on that and we open our beautiful animator here. So if we click on this, this is our actual animation. We are able to lower it. I like lowering it to not 25, that would be really fast, just to 0.25. And if we go back in here in game and we see he does a little slower. We can also make it quicker, so if I do put it to 10, he kind of goes really speedy, or half of that. He does a little bit of hops, but yeah, I like it like this. I think it looks really cute. And we do little jumps, do a bit of movement, and you can pretty much add whatever you want. It is a very basic script. Basically, you can just add like any key code or anything you want to add different functions. But to pretty much make a character move on the screen, make a little jumps, this is how you do it. And thank you so much for watching.